So, good evening, guys. Welcome to another Clickcast where we speak with different photographers from different genres of photography, and especially new and exciting and up-and-coming ones. Now, we ask them, of course, what makes them click. That sounds a bit cheesy, but even though it's called Clickcast. Of course, and tonight's is a well-known photographer on YouTube and in the photography community as well. Lots of people recognise the name, and I'll say this. This photographer, of course, has taken us from seascapes, landscapes, and from now getting us to connect with nature and express ourselves through the art of photography. So, of course, this is a lovely lady. This is a lovely, talented lady and photographer, and her name's Kim Grant. And it's so great to get Kim on the show. It really is. So, of course, good evening, Kim, and it's great to finally meet you as well. I just want to say that. I hope it's not raining too much, of course, where you are in the northeast of Scotland, as it is here in Edinburgh. We've had it really bad. And of course, I just want to really just kind of ask you is how did this journey in photography start? And I know this is a question you've probably been asked lots of times, but just, how did it start from you, as in from pretty much from your childhood upwards?
Yeah, it's always nice to go back to the beginning of these things. I think it's what I do on my podcast as well. It gives us a sense of who the photographer is. So I began photography when I was 16 years old. I would say I was probably quite a creative child, but I never really found a creative outlet properly until I was 16.
Yeah.
And really what got me into photography was like I would go down to my local beach. I was very fortunate to live by the coast when I was growing up. And I'd go down many times in the week and I'd watch the sunset. It was a massive emotional release for me. At the time, I was in a very dark place, and watching the sunset was one of the only things I think that kept me going and gave me some sort of release and some sort of connection. And one day when I was watching the sunset, it dawned on me that every sunset is different and that I really wanted the opportunity to connect with it further. And that's when I got my first point and shoot camera. I think it was either for Christmas or a birthday, and began photographing these sunsets. Absolutely loved it. And within a few months, I got my first DSLR. And yeah, it's grown and evolved in so many ways ever since.
Great. Yeah, I mean, when I first DSLR I got was the Nikon D70S, and I think it was something like maybe 7 megapixel, 10 megapixel. It's amazing, and yeah, we kind of evolve through we're going through different technology, and we strive, even though the camera's just a tool, but we want to get the best tools as possible to use, of course. And yeah, just talking about your course, going back there, you've got a strong connection to nature, and obviously your desire, of course, to photograph. Where did the desire to photograph seascapes come from, for example? Because I've noticed predominantly a lot of your work was pretty much based around the sea, and I think you've mentioned that a few times in interviews you've done. What's the connection to the sea itself?
Yeah, I mean, I think in part growing up by the sea, it was, of course, it was where my journey began. And there's something about the coastline that's always really spoke to me. It's forever changing, unlike some other landscapes, maybe like mountains and things. The only thing you really have changing there is a little bit of color in the seasons and, of course, the skies. But in the coastline, it's forever changing. Every tide brings in new things, changes the sand, changes what's in the rock pools. And then, of course, you've got the weather. You can see the weather fronts coming in. The waves, it can be very tranquil one day and really chaotic and almost violent the next day.
Yeah.
I think it's just that forever changing nature of the coast. I just find it incredibly immersive, and every time you go, you come away with something completely different because it is forever changing.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you can get anything from long exposure shots to little patterns in the sand, etc. There's so much, and thinking anything, even a woodland as well. You can do that with taking pictures of the trees to finding fungi, and the good thing about in landscape photography, there's no excuse to not get a picture anywhere you go. You can actually pick up these intimate little shots and things that we look at the back of our camera and we go, oh, I really like that. I'm going to, and you go to a little project, and you maybe a side project, and you probably go and photograph certain things. Like Brian was talking about last week, how he's doing a project on photographing sycamore leaves. And that's felt, that's a good thing, because it's so easy to go out and just get the Vista shot, or just to get like that shot of for example, I do woodland photography, and I kind of try to get ethereal looking woodlands with the mist, all the cliches that we all say as photographers, or the light to come bursting through the trees. Now, if I don't get that, I'm kind of kicking about in the autumn leaves looking for something. And I think just small things that we kind of connect to, and we can actually just exploit that and try to get the best out of these images. That's like so important to photography in this day and age. There's a lot of abstract stuff getting around the photography community just now, I've noticed as well.
How are you tonight?
I'm really good, thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Just I had my own technical issues tonight, old age technical issues. I think that is something I forgot to do last week for this week. Anyway, are we back at the start of your journey? So probably six and a half years ago.
In the YouTube perspective, yeah, I think it was about
Yeah,
6.
and YouTube. No, it goes away further back for your photography. But I'm talking about your YouTube. That's when I started following you. Probably just after that, when you first started, and it was your conservation that got me following you. So you used to do a lot of conservation stuff, and then that you sort of molded with your photography landscape with your beaches, and I can remember that. And now it's like how you've went a full circle, and what I enjoyed about you, and it's what I've said to one of my study doctors, is your voice is very calming. So you can sit there, and I think that's why you've been so successful, is because you've got a very calming voice that goes with your video and with the outside. So it's what I call a bedside manner voice. It's very calming. You know, it's not objectionable. A lot of folk would probably sit there and go, "Stevie, your voice is too rough," but you know, it's very calming. It's what's so good about you can sit there and you could make a video for an hour and you would get a lot of people following it because it's just your voice as well and how you do your videoing. Wow. So that I'll just get that out of the way. Okay, I don't know if anybody else is, but that's a lot of people didn't have a look at their cell in the way of how others see them.
Perceive them,
yeah. That's why I've always followed you. It's not always been because I'm not I'm there to appreciate photography, but I'm not really good at landscape photography in my head. To me, it's always the smaller details that everybody else misses, which is what you're picking up a lot on. Hi, Brian. A lot more now, which is, I think, now, for my perspective, as a selfish note, I'm actually enjoying your photography even more because you're slowing down and you're actually seeing more.
Yeah.
So I just like to put that out there. But thank you for making your videos, because you know it is soothing when you're having a bad day and you just sit there and you listen to your voice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Stevie there. I think one of the things, because your narrative is so well done of your videos, and I think it's small things like that people don't really appreciate. But I think lots of people enjoy a Carmen kind of, sort of, you know, they kind of, let's go out and we're going to actually go out to the field and let's see what we can do, and just, you know, you kind of talk more about the scene, how you feel about it, etc. And then obviously you're talking about 6 years ago, your journey from YouTube and Photographic Connections. I think I started watching it when I think it was your third one, I think, and I really enjoyed. And I think it was Courtney of Victoria, and I just started watching her YouTube videos because of that interview, and I was so surprised that the same kind of mindset, not so much yourself, but the same kind of mold of kind of photographers you connect to very well, and that the same kind of principles they have in regards to nature, looking after it, and what it means to them, and how they're motivated by nature as opposed to just going out and taking a picture. And I really enjoyed that interview. Molly Davis, which I think Brian wants to mention about that. Brian, are you okay there? Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, it's fine now. Yeah.
You just pick up on my mispronunciations. Worms I mentioned. Yeah, I don't know what happened to me tonight. I can see that off camera. So, Brian, going to the point, what I was going to say is we were kind of mentioned about Molly Davis, who mentioned to me on your last interview with me. Yeah. And you kind of touched on how much passion it came out from Molly. You tell me more just what you felt about it and how it made you feel just watching that and what you learned from it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, as I say, you know, all the people that Kim brings on our channel, the podcast, they're all very good because I like the mindfulness approach to it. But you know, when I think Mali was one of the earlier ones, Kim wasn't he, second or third, quite early.
Yeah, I think so.
And I just think it was his pragmatic approach and the way that he spoke from the heart. And I kind of felt like that was how I was when you're in, because, you know, like I said, I don't just see trees as trees. And Mali, you know, the way that he gets excited and, you know, over enthusiastic, and in the way that he talks,
Passion,
I felt like I was listening to myself from how I see myself as a person when I've seen Mali. But of course, I'm not doing it publicly. But just the way that he speaks, and you know, I've even just watched him tying up with other photographers lately, like Gary Goff, and he's just, I just know he's one of these people that you just feel energy and love and passion for nature just flowing out of him, and the way he talks, and he's very constructive, and not constructive in a constructive way, but in the way that he puts words, phrases, paragraphs, and descriptions of how he's seeing, and you know, and I just love the way that he talks, you know, and you know, he's just, I just think he was quite and also when he was talking, I mean, he's obviously other things that I like music and other things like that are influences in his life. So yeah, just that. I just think he's just such a, you know, charismatic type person who, you know, I don't know how anybody could just not like watching him, you know, but I know people don't, you've all got different people they like and how they are, but I just think the guy's, you know, you can just see that he loves, and he, you know, when you watch on his YouTube channels, he just lives for, you know, the light and the trees and the landscape, you know, what he does, and it just, you know, it's just, and you can see it's genuine passion and feeling wonderful when it all happens, you know, that's what, and it just resonates with what I feel when I'm out there.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, just we've been kind of 3 years I've been talking there about your talents of photography connections. I can see that there. But yeah, they are good. I love these podcasts. And one of the things is, I think it's influenced myself doing this. We kind of do more of a mixture of different genres of photography, and just trying to get people's stories of course, of what we do in any podcast, of course. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I was interested about yourself, and of course, regards to when you're out in the field and taking pictures and just kind of going back to more the technical aspect side, what do you try to reveal about your photography in general? What you try to get across to people?
I think for me, it's about that inspiring people to get out into nature and to connect with it for themselves. But now I'm going more down a route of trying to encourage people to explore themselves. And you know, I think I used to be a nurse, so my background is very much in the care, well-being sector. And if, you know, my choice when I left school was to go to university and train to be a nurse, or to go into university and study psychology. So I've always been very interested in people and the mind and how we work. And philosophy was also one of my favorite subjects when I was younger as well. So I think for me, that's kind of what I'm trying to get across in my work. For me, it's not about the technicalities. It's not about, it used to be about showing people around Scotland, but there was always something missing in that for me. So for me, it's about me sharing what I'm seeing, how I'm responding to the world around me, and sharing that with the world, just to maybe try and inspire people to see the world a bit differently, but also to go out there and photograph what they're drawn to as well. So I think it's very much an immersive process on both sides, both me as the creator and for the viewers as well. So yeah.
And your last video, really loved the reflections, not so much as the kind of makeshift faces and the little stream of little burn that you're taking pictures of. Really enjoyed that video. And it's amazing that your style is kind of, you can see you're evolving your photography. You're starting to doing more intimate shots now, I've noticed. And do you feel like, you know, going from seascape and then going to this type of photography you're doing now, which is pretty much, you know, it is new in the case that there's a lot of people doing it, but I think with your depth you give it when you explain what you're doing, especially when you're talking about seeing faces. And I was looking at that video last night, and I can see 2 or 3 faces and these. I think it was Casper, one of them I've seen. You put Casper down, I could actually see that. But guys, you haven't seen that video yet, have a look. And what was the name of the video again? Just so I can put out there.
I just changed the name of it actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's one of these videos that sometimes I change the name of it, but it's all about finding faces and creatures in my local river.
Yeah.
I'm
really
actually
fascinating.
considering making that into a whole project because it's only a 10 minute drive from my house, and I think I just all those images that was shown in that video were created within half an hour, and
really
I couldn't believe it, the amount of faces and creatures and animals I was photographing just with the water flowing and the foam going down the river. So
yeah, Kim, kind of one of the pictures we're going to put up on the screen just now, and it's just kind of caught me when I looked at that, because I just watched the video about 10 minutes before I actually put that and when I actually opened it up in my Google Drive. Can you just tell me more about this picture? Because obviously, if you've seen the video, you'll know what it's about, of course. One for Randolph's River and Findhorn. Of course, that's where you stay, of course, next to the coast and Findhorn coast. So yeah, that image, really nice. And just tell me more about, the image itself, and that's which it does feature in the video. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So this image really took me by surprise. The stream was flowing in a really beautiful way, and we had the autumn colours reflecting on the water surface, which is what you can see here with the orange color shimmering. But it was what is happening on the bottom right hand side of this image that really struck me. It's like this really interesting face. And yeah, as soon as I saw this image when I edited it, I think I called this image Afraid in the video we're talking about, because it does look to me like a person with maybe screaming or in shock, and there's that beautiful circle there resembling the eye as well. And I don't know whether it looks a little bit like they might have a helmet or some sort of armor or something on their heads, but it just is like this feeling that somebody's screaming or afraid. And of course it's looking up to all the ripples of the water as well, and it's almost like I mean, the more I look at these images from that video, the more my imagination runs wild. But it's like the ripples of the water are coming towards them, and they're afraid. So, I think everyone that sees this image will see something different in it and interpret it in a different way. But I just thought that was a very clear face to me anyway, and it was incredible to photograph that, because when I was creating these images, I was just taking a number of photographs and I didn't have a clue how they were going to turn out. So it wasn't until I got home, because you can't see this in real time, the shutter's so fast. So it wasn't until I got home that all these faces and creatures were revealed to me.
Yeah, and that's what it's like the art side of it, isn't it? It's interpretation, subjectiveness of photography, doing that type. And yeah, because like we were actually taking pictures in the field and we're just doing these big wide shots and landscape shots, etc. Yeah, you do see the landscape, but you can't interpret it as anything else as much as you can do with something like shots like that. And that's what I liked about that video, is it's a complete eye opener. Gives me certainly food for thought, for motivation as well, and as well as guys watching that, of course, have a look at it if you can. I'll stick a link in it below this video, and spend about 15 minutes or so watching it. You'll enjoy it. It's really nice. So yeah, I mean, what can we say? I mean, your talents, of course, is endless when it comes to landscapes, seascapes, of course, and also now more so connecting to other photographers and all the community. And obviously the photography community itself is a great community in regards to people keeping in contact with each other, and more so that channel from that Photographic Connections. But yeah, I mean, what next? I mean, what's next for Kim? What's the kind of things you're looking to do more of this venture of Photographic Connections? What's getting tied into this as such?
Yeah, well, so I'm sure Brian can vouch because he's part of my community. There's
you did tell me that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I just launched it back in March of this year, and with initially it was just going to be a weekly podcast episode and the online community. Like at the time, I didn't think anybody would sign up. I didn't have any expectations, and it's just been beautiful to see a number of people sign up over the last 6 months or so and create this beautiful community. And back in last month in October, we did what I'm going to refer to as immersive photography weekends. So Brian and 6 other community members came up to Murray, where I live, and I trialed what I'm hoping to do next year in terms of, they're like, I guess, workshop retreat weekends, but a little bit different. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do now, or not hoping to do. I do actually have dates set. So what I'm going to be doing next year is a number of these immersive photography weekends. The podcast continues to grow and develop. I'm just looking forward to speaking to more and more photographers. And, you know, I mean, who knows where things are going to go? I mean, to me, this is just the beginning of this. And I mean, I don't know, you know, but the community and the podcast is definitely my focus right now. And then being able to deliver in person workshops, but also do more stuff online as well. So but it's all about engaging with people and helping people to discover the therapeutic elements of photography.
Absolutely. I think that's you know, it's the comfort of people, you know, going to these workshops. They can relax, and you know, obviously they watch your videos, and they've got, you know, that's a good thing about YouTube. You know, people get they know the expectations, what they're getting into, they enjoy it, they can connect. And what Vault YouTube videos, I think it doesn't really help. I do workshops for woodland photography, and I mean, I've only had 5 or 6. I can count my 2 hands. But I've noticed people say, "Oh yeah, I've watched your video." I'm like, "You know, it's great. You know, thank you very much. I really appreciate that." And it must be a great feeling. You know, obviously you must be used to it so far now, but I know it's always endearing when people say, "I really enjoyed, you know, this, and you know, I want to go in this workshop. I want to learn how you actually look at things, of your perception, and that kind of thing." And that's the feedback I get when people say that. It's like they're looking to get that perception that photographers get, and you know, how they can actually connect. And more so yourself, you connect to a lot of people far and wide, of course, in the community. So yeah, I mean, in regards to yourself, I mean, are you predominantly, you done visualize in Scotland, and you kind of focused on Scotland? Are you kind of sticking to that kind of side, or are you actually looking to venture out a bit more in UK and other places more?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think for my personal photography ventures, I very much love photographing locally. I just feel such a deep connection with it, and I don't even want to travel around Scotland now. You know, I did a number of things for a number of years of going around Scotland and going to different locations, but I just love where I live so much. And especially now I'm doing more of this more intimate, abstract work. You know, I live in such a beautiful part of the world where I've got coastline and incredible ancient woodlands. So, but I think from a personal perspective, this year I went abroad for the first time properly. I went to Canada for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And it opened
up,
I see that. It opened up my mind to the opportunities out there. So I think, I don't know if I will travel for photography. I don't ever see myself being a travel photographer, but I would definitely be interested in maybe doing events or talks, and also traveling, you know, to other countries to do things like that, but also to learn more myself and develop. So
because of course in the past you did do a lot of promotional work, etc., for Scotland in regards to tourism kind of videos, and obviously the converse. I've got to try this again. Stevie, help me up here.
Conservation.
The converse. I was actually saying that okay before I actually done this tonight. And guys, you know what? I'm just going to keep that in actually. Right. So, no, we're getting all seriousness, of course, going back to the point where you actually did do a lot of tourism work with Scotland and talking about, you know, the Cairngorms, etc., which is a beautiful part of Scottish landscape, which you live pretty much about 6-7 miles away from, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah.
Not quite that close. But yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm about 20 minutes from the border of the Cairngorms driving. Yeah,
it's a beautiful place. I've been there a couple of times. And that's the thing as well. I mean, you've got so much choice there. At Findhorn, of course, the beach. You've got the Cairngorms not far from you, and of course, Scotland itself, the terrain in Scotland. Why would you want to leave Scotland? You know, why would you want to go? I mean, I think the good thing about local is, as I said in the last couple of videos, that you know these places, and if they change, the weather changes. For the right conditions, you go in and you can get there fast to get that shot.
Just for the people that maybe don't understand, can you maybe just explain, we all know that you're in the, you're visualising Scotland and you're going into Photographic Connections, but I think for people, can you just tell us what was the motivation, or what changed in you as a person to want to move into this type of photography that you've now set up with Photographic Connections?
That's a very interesting question there, Brian.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I think for many years I was trying to escape myself and my life, and that's why I was traveling around Scotland a lot and going to different places, and how I got involved with the tourism elements of things. But for some reason, when I was traveling around, I just never felt as connected to my photography as I do in the area I was brought up in. And I was very fortunate, as you'll know, Brian, earlier on this year, to be able to move back to Moray after living in Aberdeenshire for 5 years. I lived on, right on the coast, around between Fraserburgh and Peterhead. So although there's some lovely coastal locations there, it's very industrial. There's not really any trees, and it's not really where I felt particularly inspired. So I think for me, coming back here and now being able to ground myself and maybe be more self-aware of who I am, it's almost like I just felt this shift within me to be a bit more based and grounded somewhere than traveling all over the place. So it's a combination of things, really. But visualizing Scotland has just come to an end. I had my last workshop the weekend just passed. Who knows, that may be a thing again in the future, but for now, definitely focusing on Photographic Connections, but also some of my own personal projects that will hopefully lead to some physical things out in the world as well, which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I have to say, that was when I think it was your Visualising Scotland when I first started. That drew me in because it was, it was a good name actually, and that's where it all. But yeah, that's interesting, because obviously it's like where I am now, being a part of the community. It's something I'm looking to explore within myself. And at that workshop, as you mentioned earlier, that trial workshop, it was really quite. A bit mindfulness for me, Paul and Stephen, because quite often one of the things I wanted to get out of the weekend is how do I understand and deal with the emotions that I'm feeling when I'm in the woods or in my local area and I see something, and you get this, like Stephen was talking, how do you feel when you get the photo and you look at the back of the screen? What do you laugh, or do you have an emotion? And I want to understand that, because otherwise the photographs almost don't mean anything, because we all have our relationship with the land, or the creature, or the person, or the tree, or the piece of water that we're photographing, and I'm wanting to understand it myself. What's that good feeling I'm feeling? What is it? How can I relate that to that? And this is what I got out of the workshop that Kim was doing, and so I just think it's really good. It's good for me anyway. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it's something that I get a lot out of.
Yeah. I think it's going back as well to thinking about where my interests were growing up. I think when you kind of start something like YouTube and you start, I guess you almost get trapped in this loop of trying to maybe go out and do things that you think other people are going to enjoy. Like I'd force myself to go to places like Glencoe and the Isle of Skye, and of course they're stunningly beautiful places, but I just don't connect with them at all. And I think it's partly because there's no trees and it's very sparse. And I think just for me, coming back to what I enjoy, where I've come from, and actually this almost want in life to help people. I just kind of felt like promoting Scotland is great. Of course, people want to come here. It's a beautiful country, but what can I do to bring my interests together and actually help people? And because I have a history of quite dark mental health problems myself when I was younger, I've come through that. And of course, with things you can come in and out of them, but I hope I never get to that stage again. But because I've felt like that and kind of come through it, and I want to be able to help people with their own struggles, whatever they may be, and use photography as a tool, because it was photography and nature that helped me out of it, along with other things. So yeah, that sort of answers your question, Brian. I think it's been a big journey.
Stephen, you got any questions at all just now?
No, just observations. But like watching you on your videos and that over the years. I guess what draws me to watching your videos is the excitement like a wee child. Like for instance, your one, either 2 or 3 videos back, I think it was 2, with the wee robin. Right? I think I even commented on this. The thing about it is your childlike excitement when something happens, and it's the exact same with me. So it's that way to connect. Oh my God, somebody else on YouTube is feeling the exact same emotions what I feel. So when I see a Robin, and my daughter's like that as well. My son knows so much, frustratingly, but my daughter is so much. Oh, nature. Oh, and I'll take her out, and she'll love it when she gets to feed a bird will come onto her hand, and she gets to feed some seed on it. Something like that. And it's just that excitement that you draw people in, because you can't fake that. You know what I mean?
Relatability, I guess, isn't it, in some respects, which, yeah. And that's one thing that comes up many, many times in the podcast, is people speak time and time again about how photography and nature helps them reconnect with their inner child. And I think, you know, as we get into adulthood, that's something many people lose, and they become very serious, and life becomes serious. But actually, we need to connect with that, because it's a part of us, and it gives us that release from the stresses of adulthood. So it's lovely that when you're out there in nature, you can connect with that inner child as well.
My wife will actually say that I will never lose my inner child. And my children.
It's a good
I hope
thing.
I never do. I've always been
a very good thing. Yeah.
I don't want to change because of that.
It's not a bad thing, of course, in any case. And you know, yeah, you're right. I feel that way as well. And escapism, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but getting into the woodlands and just being, setting up the tripod, relaxing, and waiting for the light to change, or all these things. You don't feel like you should never feel like anxious to get things working for you. You should just let go, let this, you know, let things come to you, because it will eventually, in regards to nature. It's going, if it's not going to change, it won't, you know, just leave it. You just go away and try another composition. But I think there's so many people on social media and kind of these groups, and what you see, of course, that they try so hard to get that shot, and they'll go out anyway. They'll probably trample across ferns and bracken just to get the shot they want, etc. And I think people like yourself, Kim, and especially Simon Baxter as well, gets it across very well that we need to be mindful in two ways: mindful of nature and mindful for ourselves. And it should be more messages like that, because it's a shame that a lot of woodlands just today and other places in nature kind of not being looked after. Charities can only put so much into these places. They're not government backed or anything, and it is a shame that we need to be more mindful. You know, as we go out to these places, we leave no trace. We go out there, we take our pictures, we leave and just make sure we've picked up our belongings. We don't put any litter or anything like that. And I think there should be more, you know, more emphasis on that in the photography community. I think there is with yourself, of course, as I said, and Simon Baxter. But you do see, which I'm not going to mention the names, and I don't think it's anyone we know, but there's a couple of I've seen people just actually trampling over things and taking a photograph just to get that shot, because they feel they have to keep up to get their images. As you mentioned earlier, every time you do a video, they feel you have to get that really good shot. And it's just it's the whole package, isn't it? It's like mainly just not just taking the photograph. It's mainly just enjoying it. It's the B-roll. It's walking around in the scenic areas so people can see that. And it's just trying to get that person involved in that into the video. And I'm talking through the video aspect as opposed to doing photography, guys. But I do feel that with yours, and I do feel that with Simon Baxter, you get that whole package as opposed to just a tutorial on how to do photography. But yeah, I mean, and yourself, of course, as well, when you said workshops, are you still going to be doing workshops with doing Photographic Connections, or?
So I'm moving on to these more immersive photography weekends. So yeah, my workshops so far have been long weekends on the Murray Coast, taking people to all the spots that they see in my videos, which I've really enjoyed immensely. But now that I'm doing more of this mindfulness, self-exploration sort of work, I'm going to be doing these immersive weekends, which is bringing photography together with nature, with the community elements. Anybody can book onto these when they're released, but it's about feeling like you're part of a community when you're there. We're based in one spot, we don't travel around. Once you're there's an indoor learning space and there's beautiful scenery around you. So no matter what the weather's doing, you can do the exercises indoors or outside. But of course, we want to be outside as much as possible. And just bringing, so there will still be workshops, but I might not necessarily call them workshops. And they're much more giving people exercises and tools that they can then, when they go home, they can do these exercises again, or use these tools again. And of course, they've had an experience as well. But it's about, oh yeah, I did that exercise on that weekend, and I'm going to try that again in my local area. And they're all exercises that you can do anywhere, no matter where you live. So you can take that home with you, rather than waiting for your next big adventure away to get epic scenery, for instance. You can take these home with you and do them in your local area, your local garden, and even in your house, which is nice.
Change the mindset, and it's well-being, isn't it? It's all about the well-being as opposed to a photography course as such, and that comes in with it. But if you're not in the right frame of mind, you don't produce your right frame of work.
I think that's sorry, Paul. I think that's the other thing.
Okay,
I think that's the other thing just to add to it. It's it's all about, when we talk about slowing down, but it's not about the physical slowing down. It's about slowing down in our minds, to actually, and that's just what I think you were touching on, saying, it's more about, if you're out doing photography, it's the slowing down the mind process, that all the noise or the things or maybe problems you've got or other issues in your life that can evaporate away when you actually immerse yourself into what you're doing through your photography. And that was what, obviously, Kim, when obviously just touching on these, workshops that we talked about with the trial one. I mean, how do you see these continuing and developing in the future based on what we've done when we were there? Have you got any other, it's maybe too early a question to ask, but how do you see those maturing or developing in the future?
I think my dream right now is to do one weekend a month, and because I've been for Paul and Stephen as well. I've as of next week I will have completed a working with mindful photography facilitation training program. So while I've been doing that, I've been learning many different mindful photography exercises. So to answer your question, Brian, every one of these weekends will be different. If you come along again, there'll be maybe some of the exercises will be the same, but there'll also be different ones added in, and I could respond to the weather and the group deciding which different things to do. So at the moment they are very much weekends, but who knows, in the future they might be a bit more than that, or I may travel around a bit and do them in different locations if there's a need for that. But right now I very much want to concentrate on my local area. But yeah, as you rightly say, Brian, it's very early days, but I think that's kind of my vision, is just to get a group of people up here, one weekend a month, a different group of people coming up and trying these different things, and giving each group a different experience depending on which exercises I give them. So yeah.
It really sounds quite inviting. I really like the sound of that.
I think just to add
we'll
as well,
certainly put sorry, go on, Stephen.
Oh, it was me, sorry.
Oh, right, okay.
Just to follow on from it, Paul, I think it was just to add, most of the time, and I don't know about you, Paul and Stephen, but most of the time I'm doing the photography on my own, okay? And when we started, anytime you watch YouTube or your Photographic Connections or Zoom calls or that, you're all on your own. But the one thing that I liked, what Kim done with these pulling people together, it was actually meeting the people behind the Zoom call, behind the photographs that we were seeing on Facebook and at that time. And I think that's another good thing, that it's all very good. We're all talking about connections photography, but it's about meeting people, engaging with people, and the one thing that these things I felt that I got out of it were extremely good. What Kim had organised, it was a lovely location that she found. The food was delicious. The weather was mixed, which was good because that brings different challenges. But for me, actually meeting the 5 other people that travelled from all over the UK through wide berths around Storm, the whichever name of the storm was that we had, I can't remember, Babos or whatever.
Yeah, I know you're saying. Don't ask me. I
think just to move on, that's just the other thing with photography and what we get, and what obviously what Kim's doing there. I'm loving it. But to bring people together, photographers, get set little themes or things to look at, to go and do, and we come back and in one small area, we're all doing and seeing different things. I think it's a wonderful thing that she's got going there, and I'll most definitely be going up again in the future.
You've got a great ambassador there.
Yes, yeah, Brian's one of the best. I've got
That
to
was one of
say.
the reasons why we got Brian on, because he did mention your connection, and I thought it'd be a great thing to do that. It gives people an insight of Kim's work, and yeah, I think it sounds really great. You know what? I'll be tempted to do it myself. You know, I love going up that side of Scotland. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you know, you did mention. I think I watched one of your interviews way back, and you did mention, like, you know, the northeast of Scotland's overlooked. It's mainly the west side of Scotland that gets all the attention because of the West Highland Way, Glencoe, and these honeypot shots, we call them. And your way, of course, you've got like Fiddle Rock, place like that. Even though it's not so much a honeypot shot, but yeah, it's an iconic shot, of course. But you know, there's so much land, terrain, areas, forests, seascapes, everything's beautiful, Lossiemouth, etc. But yeah, you know, northeast Scotland itself has been put on the map with your videos recently, I think, and even more so in the last few years, because of of course, your talents and showing off the beautiful areas we have to show in Scotland. And I think that's important to get that out there as well, far and wide. Mainly, let's mention it on here because I think people appreciate it as Scotland, but to notice these places and where they are, it's important as well. Definitely.
Yeah, let's just be aware of like I mean, I always say Scotland's like 200 countries rolled into one in some respects. You know, you drive 10 minutes down the road and the landscape's completely different. And of course, we always see the same places over and over again. But for me, it is just because I was brought up here and I'm so connected to it. It's not really a conscious thing anymore. It's just, this is where I live. This is where I feel most inspired, and it's where I go and do my videos just because of that. But yeah, like, you know, we always see, well, we usually see very similar places over and over and over again. And you know, I don't make my videos now to publicize places. I used to, but I don't anymore. It's just, this is where I'm going this week. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm interacting with. And you know, I don't even, sometimes I still do. You know, I mentioned that the river, of course, I was at last week, but there's a number of videos I make now. I don't say where I am. Some people recognize them from future video or past videos, but you know, because to me, it's not about where I am anymore. It's just about what's happening and being like, this is my local pond. You probably have a pond in your area. It's not going to be the same, but you can get more images. This is a river. Again, go to your local river. And it's trying to make photography more accessible to people as well than just come to this area. Look how beautiful it is. It's like, go to your local beach, go to your local river. You know, it's trying to get that message across to make people who can't travel just be like, oh, do you know what? I've got something similar down the road. I'm going to go and try this for myself. So
it's easy accessible for people, isn't it? And I think as well, I mean, I don't like mentioning the places I visit. There's two reasons for that. I think you're probably the same, Kim. Is obviously you don't want everyone to come to this forest. This forest has a great tree, or this has a great area to photograph in, and you know, you get every person watching YouTube and you know, trampling along to these places, and we want to look after these places as well, of course, more so. But yeah, I mean, I believe the locals better. I think. Especially, you know, what I do as well with doing woodland is, you know, I like to be going to a place I know these compositions, I know what I'm looking for, and I like to just venture to places that are not really heard of. I don't go to these kind of big places like Beat Craigs, etc. We've got not far from us, or even Devalia Forest I mentioned earlier, which is beautiful places, but there's more kind of commercial plantations, etc. areas. I like to go to a wild woodland, and around the area where I stay, there's not much of that. So you got to travel pretty much the borders or pretty much the highlands, etc. But yeah, local is good. I think local is it's to know the land, to know you've actually become a part of the land as well. I feel because you're walking up to these places, up the hills, etc. You know what you're going to be confronted with. You know what the weather's like going to be in certain seasons. You know. So yeah, I mean, if you go to a place somewhere in another part of Britain, pretty much in, I don't know, miles away, let's say, and you go to these places and you don't know how the light's going to interact with these places or anything. But in a local area, you do know because you go there often and you become a part of that land. Yeah.
Even in the connection, definitely.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty much the theme of this podcast so far has been about connecting, isn't it? You know, I've tried to keep it really mainly just talking about a couple of things regards to, you know, your workshops, etc., which I've been really interested to learn about more, and we've got that across tonight. Another thing, of course, we just kind of touched on, you know, Stevie brought about the YouTube adventure, which is equally as important, of course, as the photography aspect, because the changes you went through, and you did mention, of course, that I have heard you spoke about that you tend to change ever so often your work. It kind of evolves in a way, and you can see that watching your journey from six years ago, and I gather you've been doing photography for longer than 6 years, of course, but your YouTube channel, going through the times, you can actually see from visualizing Scotland and now to a point where I feel your best work just now. Personally, myself, I think your work is really, really great, really enjoyable. Not if it was before, but to me, I think it relates to everyone. And it's how we feel and how we look at, perceive the world, etc. But Stevie, I mean, you do macro photography, and you go to these little intimate, kind of small kind of scenes with taking pictures of insects, etc. And then you kind of mentioned, of course, a couple of videos back about where you kind of lose yourself when you're taking these pictures. And then obviously something when you're taking a picture of an insect, you've got to be quite fast, of course, because if you're not in it, you're gone. If you're not getting it, you're not. It's not there. How do you feel? How would you actually set up your kind of thinking process with photographing insects?
Yeah, mine is very much like We Mad Beasties, David.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a great name, isn't it?
You just go out, you didn't perceive in your brain that you're going to get a specific insect, because if you do that in your brain, you're only going to disappoint yourself. So I think it was Sunday. I got up really early. Let's say really early, 6 o'clock. And that's like a long life for me, if anybody doesn't ken. So I got up 6 o'clock and I went up to a local woods, which is absolutely a stunning woods. But it's mainly, it's the one thing, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but it's the one thing that annoys me, that the woodland is getting wasted by professional dog walkers. So, and I can see that in the last 2 years, that since COVID hit,
we've just lost 10 subscribers.
Yes,
that's 10 subscribers we never had.
That's fine. We'll get another 10. The whole point is that through COVID, where a lot of photographers changed their photography, I thought, and got even more connected with people, because everybody was going through the same thing. But COVID was such a good thing for me to happen, because I actually seen even more than what I wanted to. But now I see more and more people out in the wilderness where I was taking photos and there was hardly a thing disturbed. And now you can see footpaths right through the middle of the woods. And
interesting.
It's specifically bits where I can remember there was lovely bits of fungi, a special fungi that I've not seen there since, growing in that one specific spot. But now it's all like trodden down with feet, because it's a footpath for dog walkers. And it's that thing that destroys my heart when I go out and see it, that we'll have to protect these things, but everybody has to protect them.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, it's about the mindfulness of us looking after, we actually go to these places. Even dog walkers are the same. Every dog walker is going to trample through things. I'm sure dog walkers will,
it's not
people
just
they
dog
respect.
Walkers, it's people that are out. There's people that are out for for their minds as well.
It's attitudes, isn't it? It's people's attitudes towards it.
I've got a story as well. When I was, the bluebell season up at the Conclave and Bluebell Woods, so I was up in my camper van, and I wasn't sure if I could stay, but I seen some of the guys for the National Trust, the Woodland Trust, that were working there doing some work. And I asked them, said, okay, if I park up here? And the guy said, oh, absolutely. He said, in fact, you could do us a favour. I said, oh, what's this? But I was there for 2 days. So the previous day I met another guy, and he said to me, oh, this is odd. See, yesterday, or earlier in the week, I've been here all week, this pathway through the middle of the Bluebell Forest wasn't here. Now it's here. And those guys, what they said to me, this was totally unrelated in the morning, they said, we can see that there's people, most likely people like yourself, I'm not saying you, tramping right the way through and killing off the bluebells that take ages, years to regenerate.
Yeah, they do actually.
Would you mind having a word with them?
A grumpy old man grumping.
No, honestly, what they said to me, they said, look, would you mind speaking to them? And even if they get, take a photograph, because and I went, I'll do it, because I'm mindful. I wouldn't go. And I could see that, and what they had obviously done, they'd gone around and put little signs where these pathways were going right through what would have been absolutely beautiful. But they've actually destroyed the look of it
Yeah.
Because, and it's just anybody, because it's not policed. People should be respectful. There's marked way paths through it. But I thought how terrible, these people who are working there, most likely volunteers, having to ask general public to watch out and ask people who, if you see them, not to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My actual answer for my question, I'm really sorry that I got onto that. I think I clicked onto the wrong whoosh.
Oh, don't worry, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
But I think my like landscape photographer, you change everything, and I think with me with insects is particularly at this time of year, nobody thinks there's insects or anything to photograph. With macro photography at this time of year, they're all like, oh, let's go across to Indonesia and Malaysia and photograph exotic, and I'm like, no, let's slow down even more and investigate, on what I do a lot is as what you started to do now, Kim, but you actually see even more. So I look at the bark, I look at the nodges and nodules that's in a bark in a tree, and I'll see. It was like 2 years ago, everything just went with me because I started finding orange ladybirds like a bit. At this time of year, orange ladybirds clump together, like they huddle together like a big family. And I put a photograph up on my Instagram last week because we were all talking about it in the macro photography sort of genre. And there was roughly about 15 or 16, and they all start huddling together. And I was out at the weekend to one of my local woods, and I came across this fern, and I could see, it was really windy, I could see 10 or 12 just huddling together on the bottom of this fern. And by the time I got like 10 feet over to where it was, the wind had blown them all over and there was only 3 left. But it's just, I can that I'll see it again, and it's just, you change your photography for the seasons. And I like to show at this time of year that there's lichen on trees. If I wait, I've seen myself waiting in half an hour for this tiny wee insect to come up and sit there on the lichen so I could take a photograph of it so it looks like a green moon, because the lichen has wee circles and it's all different. So if you get on a specific tree, you can change textures with the different insects. You've got to look at your eyes and just see. I want to see more damselflies and dragonflies in your photography next year, young lady.
Yes, well, I absolutely loved, I've got to say, what I did with them this summer, I loved. And there's a couple of images I made over the summer with the damselflies that I just absolutely blew me away. I still look at them now every couple of weeks because I'm just like, wow. I mean, that was, I didn't even know they were there. It was so unexpected when I found them. But now that I know that pond exists and that they live there, I'll definitely be back next summer.
That's a beautiful picture, actually.
Early in the morning.
Guys, sorry, just to cut in there, there is an image that Kim has given me to put up, and I will put that image up. Basically, I'll edit into the video. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture of the damselfly, and it's obviously what I like about it is the bokeh in the background there. The green and the damselfly being like a really dark kind of red, like almost like burgundy looking. If you look at the colours, these eyes, etc. It's a really lovely shot. I like that. I mean, I've not done much macro photography either, and just doing fungi, etc., and things like that, or close-up of ferns and the changes in the seasons of ferns, of the colours, as you know, the orange and the greens, etc. But I do appreciate people who do that kind of photography. It's I don't have a really steady hand. Everything I shoot is pretty much on a tripod, I'll say. I don't know myself around about the camera, I know the settings, etc. But when it comes to macro photography, I think this hand here doesn't cut it. And it's I know you can use a low-lying tripod, you can take the center column out and you can put it down as low as possible and then shoot. I know that, but I think 9 times out of 10, guys, I believe that when you do macro, that you're better to be more mobile, to get about and just use it by handheld and taking a shot. So when you did take that shot, were you actually using your tripod, or was that just like a handheld shot?
Definitely handheld, because they move. I find it so challenging because they're constantly moving, and when they land, sometimes they're only there for a matter of seconds. So, you know, by the time you've set everything up, they're gone. So, you know, there's,
Yeah.
of course, if you're photographing something like you were saying, Stevie, with a lichen, then
Yeah.
if you're going to stay in one spot for half an hour and wait for the lenset to come up, then of course you'll want to use your tripod. But for something like damselflies, like you really need to be handheld and reactive and just, but slowly, you've got to be very slow because they just flit away. But it's like tiny little movements that would be very difficult to do with
Are
your.
you using your 400?
No, I've got an actual macro lens. I want 105mm
Nice.
macro. So yeah, that's what I photographed that one on.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I know that some of the, just interesting to know how you think about, because some of the macro stuff you do are close up. You use quite, let me say, creative thoughts, you know, and it might be slightly blurry, or you're focusing through something. And, you know, is that just something that comes to you when you're out and you see something, you know, you don't think about it, it just happens when you're there? Or because some of the things you produce are absolutely wonderful, Kim.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I've got to be honest, I do no planning anymore. You know, when I was a landscape photographer, sometimes I'd plan, you know, around sunset, sunrise, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, now that I'm doing more abstract and in the summer doing macro, you know, that the image that you've just shown there, that was taken during midday, you know, a time of day when people are like, oh, don't go out. But then I went back a few days later around sunset to photograph them, and I got a few images that I quite liked with some nice side lights. But you know, I go out any time of day now and just respond to whatever I see, because as you guys have mentioned a couple of times in this, you know, that there's photographic opportunities everywhere. And you know, the way life works, you know, we're not always free around sunrise or sunset. And while they're beautiful times of day, you know, if we're only free midday, you know, don't stop getting out, you know, get out. There's no such thing as bad weather or bad locations. It's just maybe you just need to find something that works with the weather conditions and the light.
Their own clothing. Their own clothing.
You're thinking Billy Connolly there, yeah. So
just
any
guys,
guys,
can you tell me that?
Sorry, go on,
Kim,
Brian.
Just one thing I'd like to know. That wonderful photograph you put up a couple of weeks ago, Findhorn Beach with the aurora. What was your emotion? What did you feel that night?
Yeah, it was a funny one because I used to be so excited by the aurora. Like I used to like run out and just be this excitable, like, oh. But that night was really weird because I stood there for half an hour and didn't really realize it was there because it was so cloudy. And then I thought I'm going to go home, but before I go home, I'll just take an image. And when I took it, I was like, oh my God, the sky was just completely green. So it was amazing to see. Initially, I just took a number of images, and then when it really kicked off and you could actually see it, it was just a moment of wow.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Kim, just to cut on you, the picture you actually sent us, I've got that there. I'm going to put that on the screen just now with the profile picture of you doing that up to the sky. And you done that gesture just now, so I just thought of that.
I know, I was thinking of that image.
It's a really nice shot there. That's absolutely amazing. Brian, sorry, is there any other questions you had there? Sorry.
No, just to touch on it, because obviously, you know, I know that that's where Kim's heart lies in Findhorn, you know. You know, in that area, you know. But it was just when you know, aurora alerts were kicking off all over Scotland, apart from Midlothian and Edinburgh, where we had nothing but clouds, and you know that seems to always be the case. But I know up there they've got some dark skies, because when I was up there on that workshop that we had, I was staying down by the beach, and I met, just out of chance, I met two local photographers from Forest area, and we were standing on the beach till 2 a.m. chatting away, and I thought I better watch. I'm going to get up for Kim's thing the following day. but again, it's just connections. It's standing on a beach in the middle of nowhere, freezing cold, 2 o'clock in the morning, talking about photography.
Absolutely. And speaking of Findhorn, there's the beach huts. Am I right here? It's a beautiful picture of the beach huts with the light, and I presume it's pretty much in the summertime, sunset. I will just have a look at the picture and get up there.
No, this was actually only about a month ago.
A morning, sorry.
When was this? This was September, I think I filmed that video.
Yeah.
Or beginning of October. So this is actually at sunrise.
You've got here, actually the name of it is Findhorn Morning. I've got here, so yeah, sorry about that, it's my mistake. So yeah, beautiful. What I like about that picture, Kim, and it's just the light just kind of painting the top of the huts, kind of just kind of going across them. And you've got a beautiful sky. The sky is amazing. It's a lovely image. So I'm putting that up just now for you guys to see. And it's just so nice. It's really just calming. Very calming. Lovely image.
I enjoyed making that. That was actually in a video where I was speaking about how I used to be a very anxious, reactive photographer. And actually about half an hour before that image, the sky was on fire. It was red. And I took some images of the beach hats much closer to them, and I got some images with that incredible sky. But to me, they were just like what you normally see with landscape photographs. And I just felt like they really lacked soul, because you looked at them and they were like red and on fire and wow, the color. But there was just something missing from them. And then I kind of calmed myself down and just stopped running around, did a bit of space with the camera, and then just relaxed into it. And then that's when I made that image there. And to me, that image, even though it's not, you've not got the same wow colors, it just speaks so much deeper, I think, to people that view it. So,
it's a different kind of feeling in it. It gives you a kind of warmth inside. And it's amazing, you know, just how many photographers, their interpretation, is just it's amazing, isn't it? We all kind of have a different. Stevie, you know, you're presenting next week. You're presenting next week, you know that.
I don't care. I'm enjoying it just now.
Yeah, well, you would do, I suppose. I'm all kind of fingers and thumbs and worms and words tonight, isn't it? So, so it's kind of one of the questions I was going to ask, and I was going to ask about earlier, kind of that kind of subject slightly disappeared, but I do think it's still important. Is there a message in your photographs?
I think every image is different, isn't it? You know, I think the beauty when maybe combining imagery with vlogging and YouTube is that you kind of get the sense of, you know, the place and the time and how I was feeling, and then putting that into an image. So like, I don't go out necessarily to create messages with my images. I know there's some photographers, more I guess journalism photographers, that are really looking for that message of showcasing something that's, you know, a big maybe political issue or environmental issue or something like that. But to me, it's just showcasing the beauty, and I just want to be able to evoke emotions within people when they look at my images, and just to feel something, either to feel like they're there themselves and feel the calmness or the tranquility that I felt, or just, you know, to feel something. And I think that's one of my ambitions now, is to create a book or some sort of exhibition or just something so that I can get these images out there physically, so people can actually have them in their hands and look at them and feel those emotions. So I think
something tangible people can pick up. Yeah, you're right. And I've did hear you mention that. I think it was one of your videos you mentioned about a book, and I think looking at photographers like Simon Baxter, Thomas Heaton, guys like that, you know, these books, you know, they sell well, I presume, and more so yourself as well, because your message, and of course with the backdrop of photographic connections, you know, I think people will be a lot interested in that, and certainly something I'd probably love to put into my collection as well, for photography books as well. But I think photography books are getting more important now as opposed to prints, aren't they? You know, it's a lot of photographers kind of can go back and just kind of, you know, you can just go back to a time when you can look at a phase you're going through, a project you're doing, for example, and it's just all there in a volume of things. I probably love to do something like that in the future myself. I think I'm not quite there, a long way away yet, but I do agree with your book is great, especially your work. And you know, just when you actually get these kind of words next to the images as well, what you're feeling, and you know, kind of brings it alive more. So I think that's a great idea. And if that's the case, you know, watch your space from Kim. I'd love to see your book when it does come out eventually.
The issue is coming up with a theme. I've got about 6 ideas already. So
all right, okay.
The more the better. The more the better.
The more the better. Yeah, exactly.
That's like 6 books ideas. 6 book ideas. Wow, we didn't even get that.
Because I've been doing photography for so long, you know, I've got such a big catalogue of images under a variety of themes. And even recently, you know, when we look at what we spoke about at the beginning with those faces and creatures in the water, you know, there's 8 images from that, if not 10 images from that morning alone that I would love to showcase. So then if I were to go back a couple more times, and wow, there's already something there. But of course, I'd love to do something with all my coastal images. You know, I've got so many coastal photographs over the years, and that's of course where I began. So I'm kind of swithering right now whether to do a project right now and finish a book at the end of, you know, like in the springtime, or whether to go back to the beginning and look through all my coastal images and create something. But maybe it'll be 2 books a year apart. Who knows?
You could do one your whole journey, Kim. Maybe one like a journey book almost, just to you could go. I've made 2 books for my own personal consumption. That's what I've
Nice.
done, Paul and
I
Stephen.
know
I've made 2 for my own consumption. But I think it's just. But there's tons of ways you could do it, and but you've been going for so long, all your lighthouses and your coastal things, that maybe this is Kim Grant, boom.
Well, yeah, I have to say I'm really wanting to actually write like more of a novel style book about my life and my journey into photography, and then
Yeah.
maybe that coastal photo book to go alongside it but as another story, another project. I have so much ideas going around my head just
That's
now.
great. I think it's
Kim
quite
Grant, footsteps in the sand.
I think it's quite therapeutic as well. I think your work, no, it's more therapeutic. It's good for the mind. It's good for the soul. And these kind of books will sell because people like escapism. People like to get away from the norm of the 9 to 5 jobs, as we mentioned earlier, all that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I will look forward to that when it does come out, and keep in tune with your channel, keep watching, guys. It's I've had a good few chats tonight. Apologise for the ums and ahs and the mispronunciations.
Conservation.
Yeah, I don't know what's the matter with you tonight. Sorry about that. I do apologise, Kevin, guys. But I've seen one of your images was in the. I don't know if it's Outdoor Photography magazine or something like that. If I'm correctly, it's the.
I was in the Nikon magazine recently. I don't know if
Sorry?
that's. I was in the Nikon magazine recently. I don't know.
That's it, yeah. Because I was looking. I've got a big bundle of magazines, or photography magazines tonight, and I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it. But yeah, I was looking for it. I really enjoyed reading that there, and it was like, it's just to see a familiar face on it, especially from YouTube, etc. And it's good to actually get Scottish photographers out there more, seeing more of that. And I think in YouTube itself, there's not many of us YouTube photographers in Scotland. Maybe because some of us can't really, people can't understand us, like myself, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to see parts of Scotland and people from Scotland talking about their own part of Scotland, etc. So there's so much competition in YouTube just now as well. Of course, Kim. And in regards to yourself, obviously you're evolving different changes all the time through pretty much your photography career, and as a vlog, doing vlogs, etc. on YouTube. The ideas come up with your channels are really interesting, and how you connect to the person viewing it is more interesting. And do you actually, when you actually do your videos, do you script them out? Do you have any preconceptions, or you just kind of like you have an idea in your head loosely and you kind of work on that and takes it from there?
Most of the time, I genuinely just head out and respond to whatever happens. There has been, videos in the past where maybe been doing a bit more teaching and stuff, but I have scripted it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do some voiceover stuff that, sometimes I'll have the clips and then do a script and do the voiceover. Sometimes I'll already have what I want to say and do the clips.
Yeah.
But I'd say 90% of my videos, there's no planning. I just go, right, I'm going out this afternoon. I go out and I just respond to whatever's happening. And quite often I don't even know what I'm going to photograph. I just, like when I came across those damselflies, I didn't even intend to make a video that day. It just kind of happened. And again, going out, I might go out for sunrise, but now I don't think I'm going to photograph a sunrise. I just think I'm going to go out at sunrise, see where the light is, see what catches my eye, and just, respond to it. So
yeah.
That's pretty much how I do it now. It's very, very responsive to whatever happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just looking through some of your images just now and cover quite a few of them. And the one for Findhorn, not Findhorn, sorry, the Bow Fiddle Rock, which is a well-known part of Scottish landscape, of course. I've been there once, and when I was there, I don't know if you were there, Stevie, at the time. It was with Jan, etc. The tide was out, and it was just sand, and I was like, we got up the top there. My colleague, one of my photography colleagues, obviously didn't read the weather very well when we got there, and it was just sand. It was so destroying. Beautiful. I took a shot anyway just to catalogue it. But is there any time when you actually go out and obviously you photographer of your caliber, you plan a lot, etc. When you have an idea of the weather conditions, of course. But is there any time you've been really annoyed when you went out and you've put so much into it and you've got to that location and it's not worked out?
Like, I have to be honest, I don't plan at all anymore. Like, I don't even
Right.
go to like sunrise or sunset locations. I used to, but one thing I've learned over the years is sometimes a sunrise location looks better at sunset because you're not getting the image that everybody else is getting, photographing into the sun and getting the colors. You're looking in the opposite direction and getting those purple and pink and blue hues and tones.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I genuinely don't plan anymore. I just go, I just say, I really fancy going to Beaufort Rock today, or like that image you're referring to there. I photographed that on a workshop I was hosting back in March, and we were there around sunrise because it's right beside the hotel that I did the workshops at. But you know, again, it was just like no matter what, we were going there on the Sunday morning before the workshop finished. So we didn't plan the weather. It was just I always take clients there for sunrise on the Sunday before we end.
And you can
so
see using a very fast shutter speed there. You obviously got the motion of the waves going up over the rocks, etc. Really, really nice shot.
We had a huge swell that morning, so I just wanted to, you know, photograph that drama.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
a few of us
definitely.
did take some longer exposures, but it was the crashing waves that really, you know, spoke.
It's more interesting. Yeah, I think that's more interesting. I think I don't know about most of you guys, but when we first start photography, one of the things we gravitate to is long exposure. We feel, oh, it's amazing. How can we get these effects? But
Sorry. What's the cat's name?
Ebony.
Sorry?
Ebony.
Yeah.
Lovely.
He was my granny's cat.
All right. I'm a cat person. Sorry.
No, he doesn't normally come. I don't know. This is unusual.
Because I'm here.
I just lost my train of thought because of you there.
Oh, shush.
Yeah,
go with the play.
Sorry?
Kim, as long as the cat doesn't photobomb like the last podcast video.
Yeah, that's the start of the show. We've got this. Yeah, exactly. Of course, that's me going to get a few hits now on this channel now.
I don't know if
bring in a cat, you'll get something. I'll tell you.
Have you seen Kim's latest podcast?
Yes. No, I've not seen that one yet. No, sorry, no.
Oh well, look out for the cat.
All right. Oh, you're gonna have to get that.
Not my cat. It's the other.
No.
You got Thomas Heaton with you got Thomas Heaton with a dog sometimes. You got Nigel dancing with a dog. You got Simon with. No, you've got a cat. This is great. It's could be a double. So, on your podcast, of course. Yeah, I also lost my train of thought there. I think
long exposures.
Sorry.
It's not a good thing actually.
Exposure.
Sorry, double exposures. Yeah. So we all kind of used to love all that kind of thing. We start with photography. We all go for like kind of wow factor things that we didn't know how to use a camera. No, I don't know you guys, but some certain aspects of doing photography I like to do it, but I don't get that kind of feeling anymore. That I don't feel excited when I actually put like a 30-second long exposure and say, that's brilliant. I just feel it's, there's so much now that there's so much in photography as you get to learn different things through different photographers and pick up a book, etc., and maybe just go on a course or a workshop there too. That you don't need that kind of gravitate to the kind of the honeypot shots or the basic kind of things that we try to get people to press like on our pages, etc. I kind of just I'm happy. I'm actually at that stage now. When I'm just at that stage, I feel comfortable just taking pictures myself now and hoping that they do well. And I think that kind of goes to yourself, Kim. You talked about you don't plan anything, and that gives you that so much freedom that you feel that you can actually express things better in regards to pictures. You feel you can get them more. You see things in a different kind of way. You don't have that pressure or anything kind of to get that shot out there for your video. And when I first started doing the YouTube videos, I felt I actually was kind of stressed about getting the image out, and I thought, no, what I've got to do is just go out and enjoy it, and just trying to maybe if the video doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I might not put it out. But then I said to myself, from other people talking about doing YouTube channels, is you've got to take that off with a smooth and show what's and all. I mean, of course, we all get that, don't we? I mean, do you feel yourself, you ever done that course a couple of times that you went out and, obviously you've got some great shots or you've got some great B-roll, but it's not planned. Nothing's happened. Not so much as planned as you don't plan it, but it's not worked out in the way you've hoped it worked out.
Yeah. It's happened many times, particularly in the past when I used to go out with expectations. And I think I used to feel that pressure when you're creating YouTube videos that I
Yeah.
must get an image today and there must be a story in this. But I don't know, it's been really interesting. You'd mentioned earlier that you feel my imagery now is, you know, possibly the best and the most emotive it's you ever feel it's been. And a few people have said that to me recently. And I think it's because it's easy to say this, I guess, but I genuinely mean it. Like, I don't have the pressure anymore. Like, I still
Yeah.
sometimes have that pressure to create a video every week. You know, I need to go out and do something. But like, I don't put any pressure on myself anymore to get images or to have a particular story in mind. It's just, you know, whatever happens this week happens. And when I take that pressure away, I actually find more to photograph. Because when I put pressure on myself, it's like, you're chasing something, you're searching for something, you feel stressed, you're like, I have to get an image this week. Whereas when I just go, do you know what, I'm just going to go for a walk with my camera, see what happens, what interests me. And of course, there's some days I go out and with the intention of filming a video when I don't, you know, it's like I go out and nothing happens, or I film a few of my videos recently, I've filmed over 3 or 4 days because I filmed a little bit and then not finished it, then filmed another bit and not finished it.
Oh yeah.
But then actually there's a story piecing all the days together, and then at the end of the week I'll kind of sit down and do a bit of speaking out on location and link whatever's happening that day with what's happened throughout the week, so that that way I don't have that pressure of creating one video. It's just like, okay, this happened today, this happened this day, this happened this day, and then it's
you're right, and it's that's kind of thing, touching on what we talked about all the way through this podcast, as we're talking about the way that we should be letting go of the shackles and just enjoying what we've got in front of us in regards to nature, and using the tools we've got to our disability, to our ability to take the pictures, etc., what we're actually experiencing, not so much as trying too hard to find a wow factor shot. But yeah, that's and I really do stand by what I said in regards to your images. To me, I think they're the best I've seen. They've always been great, but they've went up another level to my book, and I really enjoy looking at your work. And I'm sure the guys will be enjoying your videos as well, especially Brian, who's been on one of your workshops. And that's great insight, Brian, you did share there for also the viewers tonight watching it on, which we'll put out on Saturday evening, this podcast. I've enjoyed this. I don't know you guys. I mean, any other questions or anything?
Yeah, just one more question,
please,
Kim.
Please.
Sorry, just another question, Kim. I mean, obviously, how are you seeing the community within Photographic Connections developing now? Because I think we've got quite a few new members, but I don't know what you see behind the scenes. Do you see it growing from the 6 months? Because you mentioned on a Zoom call that you think you had a new theme coming up, but how are you seeing it? Are you seeing this thing you've started going exceeding your expectations, if you had any in the start? But I mean, generally, how's it all shaping up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I like I kind of said earlier, Brian, I didn't even know if anybody was going to sign up to it in the beginning. And yeah, I mean, things are growing. I'm kind of trying to, I'm a bit unsure about what will happen if we grow amongst a certain number. Because the beautiful thing we've had, over the last 6 months is that it's been quite a connected community in terms of we've had around we had about 40 something members, and it went up to 60 something, and then we lost a few and we went onto a new platform. But there's been like a core group of about 20 people for a number of months now that have been very connected. And recently, over the last week or so, there's been about 6 or 7 new people sign up. So it's beautiful, but I almost think as it grows and grows, will that personal touch be lost? But hopefully not. And I also hope that the more people join the community, the more people will have the opportunity to make connections with people in their own countries, because it's not just in the UK members, as you know, Brian, we've got members in America, Canada and Australia as well. So it's nice for them to also speak on the Zoom calls and on the chat with people in their own country. And so yeah, I kind of hope it does continue to grow, because I think it will allow more opportunities for us all to learn from each other, to connect from each other, to do that. But yeah, who knows? It might have to manage it a bit differently if we get over a certain.
I mean, just for Paul and Stephen's benefit, with the Zoom call the other day, and there's a chap in America that he was talking about getting prints done and framing and all the rest of it, and lo and behold, he makes his own frames. And he talks 6 months to make a frame. So we're learning all this through different people that we would never normally engage with.
Yeah, that's a good point. yeah, it's the small things like that you don't really appreciate as much what people can do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen, do you have any questions at all? Yours
Yeah,
are red. I thought mine's are
yeah,
red.
what?
Yours are red.
Yeah, they're really red. I think it's because how I've got
Mine's are
my,
red.
my camera setting. I think it's because I've got my camera setting like on. I don't think it's on vivid. I think it's on natural. But my ears are naturally red anyway. So
Yeah. You need to put a polarizer on just to dumb them down a bit.
polarizer.
Sorry,
I
go
haven't
on.
even
Go on.
said what
I'm
one
kind
of
of
them are.
distracting
I'll
you
put
there.
my diffuser in front of me. How's that?
Yeah.
Right. What I would say was what I noticed from the outside in, because I'm only like, to me, yous are all professional photographers and I'm just a hobbyist, but that's where I want to be. I'm not interested in pushing myself at this time in my life into where I want to be. So the guys with the bigger names, and what I've noticed is people with a big following on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and that. And I know Brian clicked on this last week. So the little guys, right? What I noticed is less attention gets shown to people with a smaller following. So what I try and do is connect. I didn't even care how many followers I've got. I didn't really concentrate on that. But the people that have got 5 or 10 or 15 followers, I concentrate more on their photography, make connections with them more to show just that there's people out there that appreciate what they're doing. And it's for everybody. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like, I'm just a human being? I like to share and I like to make the connection, because I like to make the connection with the people more round about the world than I actually do probably in my own street. I
Yeah.
don't know.
100%. And that's so beautiful that you do that, Stevie, because I mean, I it's weird, like people refer to me or my work a lot and refer to the numbers of subscribers and people that follow me, but like I honestly, I've never done it for the numbers. It's not why I started, and I don't even think about it. Like people say to me, "Oh, you're on this now," and I'm like, "Am I? I didn't even notice I'd reached that amount." I think I don't keep up with it because it's not why I do it. I'm just like, I want to ensure that I put videos out regularly. I do this regularly. And I think for me, the issue now is that because I have such a large following, I can't keep up with everything. Like I can't keep up with all the comments. I read every single YouTube comment that comes in, but I cannot physically respond to them all, and Instagram and emails. And, so that's kind of where my issue lies now, is that I can't connect with everybody. But I think that's one of the beautiful things about people who really connect with my work. If they do genuinely want to connect with me, then they have the option of joining the community or that kind of thing. But I love supporting everybody. Like I love, I mean, Brian, as I've said to you so many times, Brian's very, very new to photography, but he has the most incredible vision and incredible portfolio. And, I just want to inspire anybody really, even if nobody knows who they are, it doesn't matter. If you've got amazing images and you've got a vision, then I want to support you. I don't care how many followers you've got, because we're all human and we all start somewhere, and I always say there's no such thing as a bad photograph, because there isn't, because every photograph's a learning opportunity, and if you like what you photograph, that's all that matters to me. It's not about anything else. So
believe me,
nice.
I've made a bad photo because I forgot to put the lens cap off.
Black, that could resemble something. Darkness.
Yeah, stars. Paint some stars on it.
I'm still doing that. Yeah.
Mine was just yesterday, Paul. It's fine.
Even I
I
wouldn't have that difficulty. I lost my lens cap on the tour with Colin Pryor. I know where I've left it. I know exactly where it is.
No, I've had lens cap rolled down hills, etc. I think we've all had, haven't we? Lost our lens caps, lost our polarizers, etc. And all the do you believe it or not? I still do that. I thought I've had an ND filter on, like a 10 stop or something like that. And I'm like, what's going on? They can't see anything, and realise it's my lens cap.
I lost my lens hood. I lost my lens hood in the woods, my local woods 2 weeks ago, and I found it last Friday. It was underneath frames when I was looking for fungi. I put my knee on it, and I picked it up. It was my lens hood that I'd lost 2 weeks before. Yeah. £75 for a lens hood. I was quite happy to find that again.
Oh, I'll bet.
See, that must be because you're doing a macro photography and you're looking for little insets and these kind of little crevices and things. And yeah, I get that. You know, you're the kind of person that could pick up a couple of pounds or two in the street.
No.
This has been great, guys. I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been brilliant. And I think it's because it's been so informal, and getting to know Kim on this level has been really interesting. One thing that's kind of really took me by surprise is, you know, it's not so much a surprise because I know you are kind of this way, but you're just so human. You are. And you mentioned about, you know, it's not about the likes, it's not about the numbers. You connect to everyone. That's what the impression I'm getting right now. And even before doing this video, I probably thought that anyway, but even more so just talking to you, you just connect to people so well. And guys, you should really look at our Photography Connections podcast. There's also a vlogcast. You can watch it on YouTube too as well. And we'll put some links down below. And please, you know, go over and share some love. Just have a look and you enjoy it. So much to discover in Kim's work, especially going back and for past videos, etc. Guys, been great to see you all. And thank you all for turning up tonight. And I got there in the end, didn't I?
Yeah.
I got there in the end.
You did great. You did great.
Thanks for your patience as well, my mispronunciations. So the editing is going to be interesting, that's all I can say. But yeah, thank you, Kim. It's been great to see you. And we will we'll get this up live on Saturday evening at about 7 o'clock. Well, so 6 o'clock, sorry. About 6 o'clock in the evening. And we've got Tom Peters tomorrow, guys. He's on. You heard of Tom Peters before, I believe, Kim?
I don't, but possibly. I don't, not that I can
Yeah.
think of.
Oh, he's probably heard of Paul Thompson.
Oh
He's
yeah, no, I have heard of him.
So
And
these
Woodland
guys,
photographer,
Paul Thompson and
Matt Bishop.
Matt Bishop, they do a podcast as well. They do like it's critiques, etc.
Yeah.
And one of my images are on it, and I thought I was going to get shot down in flames, but they actually, you know, I don't know if they were just doing it because they knew it was me, but they give me a nice little kind of yeah, it's nice. Just waiting for him to crop a couple of sides off it again, but yeah. So they really, I'm going to get Tom on show, and he'll be talking about his work and his podcast, etc. He does. I think it's called Landscape Photography Podcast theirs as well. But yeah, so that's on tomorrow night. Well, we'll record that tomorrow night, sorry, and that'll be live on Sunday evening, that one. But this one tonight, guys, really enjoyed it. It's one of the best ones we've had. So my big thanks to Kim. And thank you as well for Stephen and getting in contact with Kim, really, because Stevie set this all up. Stevie, he has, you know, I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't contact Kim because Kim's just way up there. And he's like, Paul, end of the day, she's just a person.
Just a human person.
She's a human.
Well,
I'm like, you know what?
Stevie, thank you. I mean, that's, yeah, we're all human, you know. There's no such thing as all this hierarchy. It's all in our imagination, you know, when we think we look up to people, they're just people. Look at celebrities.
You have photographic connections in your name if you're not willing to connect.
Exactly. That's
well done. Yeah, and on that case, I'll end on that, and it's been great, guys. So thank you, Brian, and Brian as well for coming on. Brian Nicholson was on last week.
My pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. No, not at all. It's been great. I just saying that just for me, it felt different for me having watching Kim all these years, only met Kim herself and we'll talk about in person to actually see the person. And here I'm now sitting talking to Kim in an interview. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Brian, it was nice to see you when you weren't frozen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've warmed up a little bit there, Brian.
So much for Wi-Fi extenders.
No. I use them. Actually, I've got one now. Actually, yeah, I've got a new Mac as well. I just bought a new 24-inch Mac. It's the M3 chip, so my videos should be a little bit less jittery. Coming up.
I think, Paul, you've came into the 20th century, pal. All you've got to do now is get a mirrorless camera.
Yeah, I shoot with a D850 DLSR. I know.
Might actually help with your handshaking when it's actually got in-camera stability.
Yeah, I know, but lenses have got just you know. I'm a Nikon shooter, and so is Kim, so we know the best cameras. Not like your Olympus.
I don't have an Olympus yet. I've not told anybody what I've got yet, but my Olympus is gone. I'm filming on something else.
Was that another for another show? Is it? We'll discuss that later.
No, I didn't bother about cameras, shooting, getting out brand names. It's all about who's behind the eye. And
Yeah.
I'm taking that. I'm
I'll
taking
take
that
that.
up the Lammermuir Hills for
Oh.
doing some. I'm connecting with another photographer on Sunday, and I'm going up the Lammermuir Hills looking
Nice.
for mountain
Enjoy.
views.
Right, guys, we don't want to keep our guest too long. She's been great, and thank you, Kim. I will see you all again, and thanks for watching podcast. Thanks for watching another Clickcast, guys, and next we'll see you again with Tom Peters. Thank you, Kim. It's been a pleasure having you. One more question before I go. Would you like to come on the show another time?
I'm sure I will. Yeah, feel free to ask me in the future.
That's great, and thank you for that as well. Good luck in your future endeavours when it comes to, of course, Photographic Connections, and I'm sure I'll be certainly looking out for your book when it comes out in some time in the future, hopefully. So, guys, thanks, and guys, I'm going to end this now and take care. Have a lovely evening. All the best.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Kim.
More cats, Kim.